My brothers and sisters, listen, money was never designed to be hard. Money is easy. The only reason it feels hard is because we've been taught lies about what it is and how it works. You think money is scarce because you were taught scarcity. You think money is complicated because you were taught confusion. You think money requires struggle because you were taught to worship toil instead of principles. Most people grow up believing that money comes from hard work. They believe if they can just work harder, grind longer, and push through more pain, eventually money will show up. But that's not how money works. Money does not respond to effort. It responds to value. You can sweat all day long, break your back, and even sacrifice your health. But if what you're doing doesn't produce value for others, the amount of money you make will always be limited. That's why you can see one person working 16 hours a day and barely paying their bills, while another person works 4 hours a day and creates millions. It's not because life isn't fair. It's because life operates by principles. And one of those principles is that money flows to value, not effort. When you understand this, it changes the game completely. You stop asking, how can I work harder? And you start asking, how can I create more value? The janitor in a building works harder physically than the CEO upstairs. But the CEO understands systems and creates opportunities that impact thousands of people, so the money flows to them. The janitor provides a valuable service, yes, but it's limited to the time and energy they can invest. The CEO's value is multiplied through teams, systems, and decisions that ripple through an entire company. The moment you make the shift from trading time for money to creating value for money, you open the door to wealth. Value is the seed and money is the fruit. If you focus on planting and cultivating seeds of value, the fruit of money will grow naturally. But if you focus on the fruit instead of the seed, you'll end up frustrated because you can't harvest what you never planted. Too many people are trying to pick apples from a tree they never watered. They're asking for more money without creating more value. And here's the reality. You are paid in direct proportion to the value you bring to the marketplace. Not the value you think you're bringing, not the value you're working hard on in secret, but the value the marketplace perceives and is willing to exchange money for. This is why two people can be in the same industry doing similar work, and one is earning 10 times more than the other. The higher earner has found a way to increase their value, amplify their message, and scale their results. The lower earner is still trying to outwork everybody else. It's not about working harder, it's about working smarter. And working smarter means aligning your actions with principles that create exponential value. Think about this: if effort alone created wealth, every farmer in the developing world would be a billionaire. They work harder than most CEOs ever will, but their effort is capped because they don't have access to systems that multiply value. Wealth is not a reward for suffering. It is the result of service. The more people you serve, the more value you deliver, the more money flows in your direction. Money is simply a certificate of appreciation for value you've already provided. This is why you cannot stay stuck in the mindset of labor alone. You need to think leverage. You need to think scale. A person digging a hole with a spoon is working harder than the person using an excavator, but the person with the excavator moves the earth faster because they're leveraging tools and systems. In the same way, when you create value and leverage it, money starts chasing you instead of you chasing money. The world doesn't pay you for how tired you are. It doesn't pay you for how many hours you've put in. It pays you for the problems you solve and the value you create in solving them. So if you want more money, stop asking, how can I grind harder? And start asking, how can I become more valuable? Scarcity is not a condition of the world, it is a condition of the mind. From the time we are young, we are taught that resources are limited, that opportunities are few, and that money is hard to come by. We hear phrases like, money doesn't grow on trees, and you have to save because there isn't enough to go around. Those words plant seeds of scarcity deep in our subconscious, and as we grow, we start to see the world through the lens of lack. We believe there's only so much wealth to go around, and if someone else has more, it must mean there's less for us. That mindset creates fear, competition, and desperation. And it blinds us to the reality that abundance is everywhere for those who understand how to access it. Abundance is not about luck or chance. It's about systems. It's about understanding that money flows like water and that there are rivers of wealth all around us waiting to be tapped into. The people who live in scarcity are standing in the middle of the river, but don't know how to cup their hands to drink. They're busy saying, I can't afford this, I don't have enough, I'm stuck. When in reality, they're surrounded by opportunities they can't see because their vision is clouded by fear. When you believe resources are limited, you act small. They see the strength of the you make decision place of lack instead of a place of power. You hold on to what little you have because you think if you give it away, you'll have nothing left. And that very mindset ensures that nothing new flows to you. Abundance thinkers operate differently. They understand that wealth is created, not discovered. It's not a fixed pie. It's an ever-expanding bakery. If someone else bakes a bigger pie, it doesn't mean there's less for you. In fact, their success may be a signal that the oven works and you can bake your own. But to bake that pie, you need a system to generate ideas, a system to serve people, a system to multiply your time, energy, and money. Without systems, You will always live in cycles of feast and famine because your success depends on your effort alone, and your effort is limited by time and strength. Think about the farmer who plants seeds in fertile soil versus the farmer who hoards the seeds because he's afraid to lose them. The first farmer creates a system of planting, watering, and harvesting. He multiplies what he has. The second farmer clutches the seeds in his hands and wonders why he stays hungry. Scarcity convinces you that if you let go of the seed, you lose. Abundance teaches you that letting go of the seed is the only way to gain. That's why people who hate opulence aren't afraid to invest. They're not afraid to learn new skills, build teams, or give value without expecting something in return right away. They know that money flows to those who create systems of service and scale. Scarcity is reactive. It waits for opportunity to knock and hopes to have enough strength to answer the door. Abundance is proactive. It builds the door, installs a bell, and sends out invitations for opportunity to show up. When you shift from scarcity to abundance, you stop asking, what if I fail? And start asking, what systems can I build to ensure I succeed? You stop looking for permission and start looking for principles. Because abundance is not emotional, it's structural. It's not about feeling good about money. It's about designing a flow where money moves toward you predictably. This is why some people seem to attract wealth effortlessly. They're not more talented, more intelligent, or even more hardworking. They have simply stopped operating in the chaos of scarcity and started building systems of abundance. When you understand the flow of wealth and align yourself with it, you realize the world is not running out of opportunities. Most people think wealth is built by adding a little more every month, by saving a few dollars here, earning a few dollars there, and slowly stacking up over decades. That's the addition mindset. And it's why so many people work their whole lives and never experience financial freedom. Addition is linear. You trade time for money, you get paid, you spend some, and you save some. It feels responsible, but it keeps you trapped in a cycle where the only way to get more is to do more. There are only so many hours in a day, only so much energy in your body, and only so much you can personally do. That's why addition will never make you wealthy. Multiplication is different. Multiplication takes what you already have and creates more of it without demanding more of you. When you multiply, you step out of the limitations of time and effort and step into the realm of scale. You move from working for money to making money work for you. You move from being the only one creating value to building systems, teams, and processes that create value even while you sleep. This is how wealth is built, not through grinding harder, but through multiplying smarter. Think about a farmer again. If he only focuses on adding, he plants one seed, waters it, waits for it to grow, harvests the fruit, and then starts all over again. He can only grow as much food as he has time and energy for. But a farmer who multiplies plants a field of seeds. He invests in irrigation systems, hires workers to help, and uses tools that allow him to scale his efforts. He doesn't just get a harvest, he gets an abundant harvest. The same principle applies to money. If you want your money to grow, you need to stop thinking like a laborer and start thinking like a multiplier. Multiplication happens when you invest in assets that produce more assets. A single idea can multiply into a business. A single product can multiply into recurring revenue. A single investment can multiply into streams of passive income. This doesn't happen by accident, it happens by design. People who multiply understand leverage. They know how to leverage their time by teaching others what they know. They leverage their money by putting it into vehicles that generate more money. They leverage technology, relationships, and systems to create outcomes that far exceed what they could produce alone. This is why you can see someone earning a modest salary, working overtime, and saving diligently, but still struggling financially, while another person launches an idea that multiplies and suddenly their wealth skyrockets. It's not about luck or intelligence. It's about understanding the principle of multiplication and applying it relentlessly. Multipliers focus on building things that outlive their effort. They understand that time is finite, but value can be infinite if it's packaged and delivered correctly. When you multiply, you stop asking how many hours you can work and start asking how many systems you can build. You stop asking how much money you can save and start asking how much money you can grow. Saving has a cap, growth does not. Multiplication is exponential. One seed can produce a tree, and that tree can produce thousands of seeds, and those seeds can produce a forest. That's how wealth expands. It doesn't move in straight lines. It moves in curves that accelerate over time. Addition feels safe because it's slow and predictable, but it's also suffocating because it locks you to a lifetime of work with no guarantee of freedom at the end. Multiplication feels risky at first because it requires faith, strategy, and patience. But once it takes hold, it creates a flow of income and impact that far outweighs anything you could ever achieve by adding alone. Poverty is not natural. It is not the way you were designed to live. You were created with the capacity to produce, to multiply, and to prosper. Look at creation itself, and you'll see abundance everywhere. Trees don't struggle to produce fruit. Oceans don't struggle to produce waves. The sun doesn't struggle to shine every morning. Everything in nature operates in overflow. Yet human beings are the only part of creation that can be programmed to believe in lack. That programming comes from years of conditioning that teaches people to settle, to struggle, and to accept less than they were designed for. Poverty is not your inheritance. It's an interruption of the flow you were meant to live in. Prosperity isn't just about money. It's about alignment. It's about operating in your purpose, using your gifts to create value, and allowing the rewards of that value to flow back to you. When you operate out of alignment, you fight against yourself. You work harder and harder and see less and less because your actions are disconnected from the principles that create abundance. But when you step back into alignment, prosperity starts to show up in ways you didn't expect. Ideas come. Opportunities come. People show up to collaborate, invest, and open doors you couldn't open by yourself. This isn't magic, it's design. The problem is that most people have been convinced that prosperity is for other people. They look at wealth as something reserved for the lucky few or those born into privilege. They say things like, I'm not meant to be rich, or I'm just not good with money, without realizing that those are lies planted to keep them small. The truth is that your mind is fertile soil, and whatever seeds you plant there will grow. If you plant seeds of lack, fear, and limitation, you will reap a harvest of struggle. But if you plant seeds of abundance, creativity, and possibility, you will reap a harvest of prosperity. Poverty trains you to focus on survival instead of strategy. It keeps you busy worrying about how to pay the next bill, so you never step back and ask how to create systems that make bills irrelevant. It keeps you obsessed with saving pennies instead of creating streams of income that produce dollars. Prosperity flips the script. It frees your mind from survival mode so you can focus on multiplication, impact, and legacy. It allows you to move from being a consumer to being a creator, from being dependent to being a source of provision for others. Every system in nature was created to multiply. Seeds multiply into trees. Trees multiply into forests. Rivers multiply into oceans. When a person operates in lack, they are living beneath the law of multiplication. They are fighting against their own design. That's why poverty feels so heavy. It's not because you're lazy or incapable. It's because you're carrying the weight of operating outside of alignment. The moment you shift your mindset, the moment you start seeing yourself as a multiplier instead of a struggler, you step into a flow where things that once felt hard begin to feel easy. Prosperity is not something you chase. It's something you attract by becoming the kind of person who can handle it. If you give a poor mindset $1 million, that mindset will find a way to lose it. If you give an abundant mindset one idea, that mindset will find a way to turn it into millions. This is why true prosperity starts inside. It begins when you accept that you were designed for more, that your gifts were given to you to create value, and that wealth is the natural reward for serving others with excellence and wisdom. They see ChatGPT said most people spend their entire lives chasing money. They run after it like it's some wild animal that needs to be hunted and trapped. They believe if they can work longer hours, take on more jobs, and sacrifice more of themselves, eventually money will let them catch it. But no matter how fast they run, it seems like money always runs faster. The truth is money was never designed to be chased. Money was designed to be attracted. The moment you stop chasing money and start focusing on the kind of person who attracts it, everything begins to change. Chasing money puts you in a position of lack. It makes money the master and you the servant. You wake up every day asking, how can I get more? Instead of asking, how can I become more valuable? When you're in chase mode, you're operating out of fear. Fear of not having enough, fear of falling behind, fear of missing out. Fear-driven actions create desperation, and desperation repels money. People can feel it when you're trying to take from them instead of serve them. Businesses can feel it, opportunities can feel it, and money itself seems to feel it. That's why the harder you chase, the further away it seems to get. Attracting money works differently. Attraction is about alignment. It's about creating value, solving problems, and positioning yourself in a way that makes flow toward you naturally. When you attract money, you're not forcing anything. You're not begging for raises, hoping for handouts, or jumping from opportunity to opportunity looking for a quick win. You're building something that pulls wealth into your life without you having to exhaust yourself trying to grab it. Think of a magnet. A magnet doesn't chase metal. It pulls it in because of what it is. In the same way, you don't attract money by chasing it. You attract it by becoming magnetic to it. That happens when you develop the skills, mindset, and systems that create undeniable value in the marketplace. When you're magnetic, opportunities find you, clients find you, investors find you. They see the strength of the money begins to flow in your direction because you've aligned yourself with the principles that govern wealth. This is why two people can sell the same product in the same market at the same price, and one struggles to make a single sale while the other has people lining up to buy. The difference isn't the product, it's the person. One is chasing, trying to convince and persuade out of fear of losing. The other is attracting, communicating confidence, certainty, and abundance because they understand their value and the value of what they offer. The one who attracts doesn't need to beg for business because they've positioned themselves as the solution people are already looking for. When you chase money, you exhaust yourself because the focus is always on getting. When you attract money, you energize yourself. The focus is on giving. The paradox is the more you give, your time, your talent, your expertise, your value, the more money flows back to you. Not because you're trying to manipulate the system, but because that's how the system works. Money is a certificate of appreciation for value already created. Attracting money also requires you to believe you're worthy of it. If you secretly think you don't deserve wealth, you will sabotage every opportunity that comes your way. You'll underprice your services, overwork to prove your worth, and push away the very thing you say you want. But when you see yourself as a person of value, you stop doubting whether you deserve wealth and start expecting it to show up. That expectation is powerful because it shapes your actions, your decisions, and your results. They shift from chasing to attracting is a shift from scarcity to abundance. It's a shift from hustle to flow. It's a shift from fear-based striving to purpose-driven living. You don't have to beg money to come to you when you be kind of person money is drawn to. Money was never meant to be your master. It was designed to be your servant. Yet most people live as if money is in control, as if every decision they make has to bound to how much or how little of it they have. They wake up every day asking permission from money. Can I afford this? Can I take this risk? Can I pursue this dream? Instead of standing in authority and telling money where to go and what to do. When you let money become your master, it dictates your choices, limits your vision, and locks you in a cycle of fear and scarcity. But when you step into your rightful position as the commander of money, they see the strength of you begin to use it as the tool it was meant to be. Money is neutral. It doesn't have a personality of morals. It's neither good nor evil. It simply magnifies the heart and mind of the person controlling it. In the hands of a servant, money will control emotions, decisions, and actions. In the hands of a master, money will be directed with purpose, discipline, and clarity. People who allow money to master them are always chasing it, worrying about it, and feeling enslaved to it. They stay in jobs they hate, relationships they've outgrown, and circumstances that drain them because they think they don't have enough money to change. The truth is, money is not the problem. The problem is the relationship they've built with it. Commanding money starts with understanding its role. Money is a tool to amplify your purpose and extend your reach. It's a vehicle to serve more people, to create freedom, and to build a legacy. Tools don't tell you what to, you tell us what to do. When a builder picks up a hammer, the hammer doesn't decide what house gets built. The builder does. In the same way, when you pick up money, they see the strength of you decide what it creates freedom or fear. Will it build assets or liabilities? Will it build impact or indulgence? The choice is always yours. The reason many people feel controlled by money is because they've never learned to give it an assignment. Money without an assignment will always find its way into someone else's plan. It will flow to the person who has the clearest vision and the strongest systems. That's why people who win the lottery often lose it all within a few years. They received money but didn't know how to command it. So it walked out of their hands and went to serve someone else's vision. To command money, you have to treat it like a soldier in your army. Every dollar needs orders. Every dollar needs a mission. Left idle, money will wander and disappear. But with direction, money will work for you day and night. Commanding money also requires emotional discipline. When you're a servant to money, emotions like fear and greed dictate your financial behavior. You spend impulsively when you're anxious. You hoard when you're scared. You chase high-risk opportunities out of desperation to get rich quick. But when you're the master, you remain calm and strategic. You see opportunities clearly because you're not blinded by fear of loss or lust for gain. You understand that money is abundant and that there will always be more opportunities to create wealth. That perspective allows you to make wise decisions that build long-term prosperity instead of temporary comfort. Money will serve whatever mission you set for it. If you assign it to create security, it will do that. They see you assign it to grow wealth, it will do that. If you assign it to impact lives and fund causes, it will do that. But if you fail to give it orders, it will default to serving someone else's mission and leave you feeling powerless. You don't have to be rich to command money. You command it when you decide that every dollar you earn, save, invest, and spend is going to serve your greater vision instead of enslaving you to survival.